Pledge? Well, where are we at? All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so do we have a motion to open it?
Make a motion to open today's meeting?
Second.
Seconds, James E. Duce. All right, so Bob makes the motion, James seconds. The first item on the agenda is the approval. All in favor?
No, aye.
Okay, sorry about that. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from June 17th. Has everybody had a chance to review those? Are there any?
I abstain.
Any comments or questions regarding those?
Looks as I remember it, so.
Okay, good. All right, so do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
Motion.
Sam?
To accept the minutes.
And second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right.
I mean, abstained.
What's that?
I just want to make sure.
There are no possible extensions or abandonments of application pursuant to the town code tonight. We have two public hearings. The first is 2 Jessica Court, 11-3-23. Applicant submitted a site plan that depicts a 15 by 20 foot by 3-inch pavilion with a 10-foot side yard setback. The required minimum is 30. The applicant is seeking an area variance for the encroachment. Everybody recall this project? Some degree?
I recall it, and just one thing I have to admit, and I apologize to everybody who might be in here. How did the foundation get there? Was that when you put that in, or was that foundation already existing?
Which foundation?
The concrete pad.
The concrete pad.
The patio we did. So the footings, that was done by us. We hired someone to do the footings with
Oh, okay. They weren't pre-existing to the patio?
No.
Okay.
And was it?
No, the concrete you poured was for the old, the one that blew away, right?
Correct.
So you left the same concrete pad and you had a new construction on that concrete pad.
All right.
Excuse me.
Was there a permit for that pad?
Yes.
Yeah, there was.
Well, let me just weigh in a little bit. So for a patio, a pad, you don't necessarily need a permit, right, James? But there was another pavilion, we discussed it, that was put up without a permit. We did catch up and issue the permit. Just want to clear that up.
Yeah, that's what I knew there was something like that going on. I couldn't remember the sequence of events and the timeline.
So this one essentially replaced the original?
Yeah.
Correct.
Same dimensions, same everything, but now is more permanent, not a temporary aluminum type structure, is that?
Well,
Yeah.
the size increased past the point of, am I correct?
Yeah, the size is a little larger, and the construction is different. This is more heavy timber type, where the prior one was kind of like a kit you get, like an aluminum kit that you put together.
So the limit was over 200 feet, is it?
The 200 feet is the trigger to meet the area setbacks. You can increase the area setbacks to the specs of the principal dwelling.
Right.
Okay? If it's under 200 square feet, you can go 10 feet.
Okay. That's how that confusion comes in.
Yeah, so we're just roughly 50% over that.
Yeah, so from 10, just gotta catch up here myself, so the requirement is 30 feet.
Right.
But I think what you were saying was because 200 feet is 10 foot, but this is 300 feet. So that's it.
So it's 50%.
So it's 50, that 50%.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what he was asking.
Does anybody else have questions or? Okay, so there is a letter that, Rory, should I be reading this into the record or?
Yeah, you can read it. It'll be a part of the record, but
Might as well just read it in.
Okay. This is from Tim Ferraro for Jessica Court. Looks like this was submitted on November 3rd of '24? No.
No,
I don't-
July
Oh,
1st.
that's his lot, that's his lot number, 11-3-24. It was submitted on July 1st, so today. To whom it may concern, I am writing in regard to the notification we received in the mail regarding 2 Jessica Court project and the application for the variance for the minimum 30-yard setback. My property abuts the 2 Jessica Court property in question. I'm a little confused as to why the property owner is asking for a variance after the project has been completed. Shouldn't this have been addressed with the town prior to the project starting, with the neighbors erecting the permanent structure right next to our property line? When the homeowner for 2 Jessica Court filed the permit with the town to begin the construction project, why wouldn't the town have told him that at that point to not begin the project so close to the property line? During the construction inspections of the poured concrete footings, wouldn't the town have raised this with the homeowner? The reason why I'm asking these questions is due to the fact that it seems as though the owners of 2 Jessica Court had no regard for the zoning regulations nor the permit process that the town has established for a reason. If the project was constructed following the proper permitting process and regard for the town codes, the pavilion would not be the first thing we see when we open our blinds. When a homeowner is almost an acre of property to work with, I'm not sure why constructing a massive permanent structure on the property line of the neighbors is necessary. I'm not sure why or how giving this homeowner the requested variance helps protect the rights of the homeowners. The town and the zoning board have established its codes for a reason, in order to protect the integrity of the community, and they did not just pick certain specifications without a reason. I hope that the zoning board does the right thing and doesn't just rubber stamp the variance because they applied after the homeowner's blatant disregard for the issues of the property line. Thank you for taking the time to read this, and I hope that you will do what's right for all the homeowners in the town of Goshen. Respectfully, Tim Ferraro.
All right, so I would like to answer to that. So here's one thing that I completely
Maybe you should
disagree.
say his name.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Mario Jimenez, owner of 2 Jessica Court. So here's one thing that I completely disagree. It's not that we violated knowingly. I would say this. First-time homeowner was not aware of variance property line. I know the property lines, but I was not aware, ignorant of me, to know that towns had codes. Grew up in New York City. New York City, we just don't, that's not what we do. So you buy a property, you do things, and then you learn later. However, I don't want to go into the rabbit hole why the patio is actually so close to the property line. There is a reasoning because why it's there, and it's so far away from our dwelling, from the house. Originally, we did not want to do that there. We had thoughts of doing something like a fire pit further out on the yard later on, but we wanted to do something closer to the house. My wife is here, she tells me all the time, why did we do that over there so far away from the house? We don't enjoy it, we don't use it. If they want to be, if they can say something like that, they could also say, how many times do they even see us using the patio? We barely use it. One of the main reasons why I decided to do it there, because she was never on board with it. I wish I knew about the property lines and the zoning boards and all that stuff, because I would have, to go through all of this, it's not even worth it. But when we moved there, we cleared up our yard. So their main issue is really not the patio or the gazebo or the pavilion. It's more that when we cleared up our yard, the previous owner had like dead trees, logs, and leaves that were piled up there. Every fall, leaves would fall, he would just pile them up there. When we cleared the yard, there was about 4 to 5 yards of debris that I picked up from there, and I seeded it. When I first cleaned it up, I seeded that. The only thing is, learning, of course, learning curve. I seeded it like around mid-July, and nothing grew. However, his wife would say, well, now that you guys cleaned up your yard, our yard is getting flooded. That's their main reason. That's why they are upset. So they felt that, and that's, I mean, Frank is here, don't know how many times they probably went to the town to complain about, oh, my yard now, I can't use my yard is getting flooded, they're clean. So they focused on that the reason why their yard is getting flooded was because I cleaned up my yard. And because whatever debris was there. So the leaves were there and it would stop the water from really going into their yard. That's basically the main reason why. Now, we had just moved there maybe a year or something ago. I went specifically to her, and I wish they were here because I would say it to them. I went to her and I said, what is the area? Because now I felt bad. I'm like, well, I don't want any of my neighbors their yards to be messed up because of something I did. I just cleaned up my yard, a section that was never being used before. She pointed out there's 2 trees that are dead right there, that are dead now. She said, well, we get a lot of water when it rains, it comes down and it's within these 2 trees. It's about, I want to say maybe 15 feet across from each other. So I told her, well, my wife and I, we don't have a deck, so we either want to do a deck or do a patio attached to the house. That's where the reason, so I said, you know what, we're gonna skip that, Ann, and we had ideas of doing maybe a fire pit over here later on, but not now. But what I'll do is, maybe I'll do it now and try to build something around here so when the water comes down, it prevents from going into your yard that hard. I mean, with that much current. But I believe that's not being detailed in those letters.
No.
So that's the reason why. Now, the patio is done. We don't use it. So we said we can't even stand, I mean, before we decided to do the gazebo, it was like, well, we can't even sit there. The sun hits and it's hot, like we can't even, so that's where the gazebo, the aluminum gazebo came about. So it's not that I deliberately did things to damage or I knew about the zoning boards and all this. That's not it. That letter depicts a whole different story, which I wish they were here so they can understand why I did certain things. I wish I would have never done it, to be honest, because this is not, it is a lot of money that I've spent. There's a lot of headaches back and forth. I have a negative, relationship with them because of that. So, and at the end of the day, I really did it to try to help them out so the water doesn't really go into their yard. And even after I did, just to finalize that, even after I did the patio, before I did the gazebo, the water, when it would rain really hard and it would still go through, and I would tell them, that's not because I cleaned up my yard is not the reason why your yard is being flooded. I spent another $3,900 to do a trench that goes around the patio that I built. So if water comes down, it goes through here and then it's diverted to go to the back of the yard. So even when I did that, that's to help them. I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to do that. And even when I did that, they still went to Frank and complained that I did it a way that now water goes still to the yard. So to me, that's being a little ungrateful. That's being ungrateful at the fact that I spend my money to try to see if I can assist them with their issue. They have a water issue, that's something that they have to take care of.
I appreciate that.
I also want to make notice that there is no obstruction of views. Their yard faces straight to the back. Our gazebo is not necessarily right on their property line, so the fact that when they open their blinds, the first thing they see is our gazebo,
No, I looked at it on Google, and there's a tree line behind it, and the house is positioned a different way.
Right,
So
okay, I just wanted to.
The letter did seem a little dramatic, to me, when I looked at the aerials. Is there anybody else?
Did you ever consider maybe throwing some shrubs, some trees to?
Well, we just fenced.
We fenced, yeah.
Yeah, but that fence,
No, we just fenced after that.
After we came here, we
well,
fenced
there's
like,
a fence there that,
No.
on this you can't see.
No, you can't
No,
see
we
that.
don't, no, we didn't have the
So
fence when I took those
We have
pictures
to,
down.
we have to stop for 1 second, because we didn't actually reopen the public hearing.
Oh,
Sorry.
Just reopen it and all commentaries that is placed on beforehand will incorporate into the.
Okay, so do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
James,
Seconded.
second, Trino seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Sorry about that. So then we will then put all that testimony back into the public hearing, that's okay
Yep.
to do? All right,
We will.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, I know, I didn't,
Sorry about that.
I thought,
Screening?
yeah, because I didn't see it as something that could be more pleasant for your neighbors, so it wouldn't be so, neighborly love, with some shrubs or some nice little trees, shrub trees, like, to hide everything.
We were considering that, but we would need just a lot of trees, and we just thought, obviously, we didn't want to incur the cost right now with fencing, so we just felt like we needed just the privacy and just the definition. But again, we also did receive a letter from another neighbor, which we can send to, he actually addressed it to the board or the zoning, building, but it's in regards to supporting it and how this does not affect anyone in the complex. It's not that it's impacting anyone or obstructing any views of any sort. Again, now we fenced it, so they really can't see it other than the roof of it, really.
Did you have, who built it, the structure?
That's in the application.
Is it this
And we also have the
MJ?
certification.
I think it's Fred.
You had an engineer come and?
Yes.
Yeah,
You guys, I think you guys have a
Fred
copy.
Mastrani.
Because like, I understand that you came up here and you weren't aware of the zoning code, you didn't think to look into the setback before you built the structure, but he should have. And that's important, you paid him to look into this. So, at the end of the day here, that structure is close to the property line, and if we decide that in your situation, maybe there isn't too much of an impact on the people that are surrounding you, but if 30 feet means 10 feet, that becomes an issue. If we have to apply that to other situations where, in this situation, I don't think you should have caught it, but the engineer should have caught it. Even though they were coming in and replacing a structure that wasn't as permanent, that's what you paid them for. And you're here because they didn't catch it. You would have been here at some point no matter what, whether or not your neighbor complained, because at some point Frank would have inspected it and would have caught this, and then you would need an area variance. And like ultimately the reason that you are here is because the engineer didn't catch it. That's what he's paid to do, not just like plan it and build it. And so, the flooding issues, I have some sort of an environment, but they don't impact me as much as just like the proximity is, it's away, it's close.
Right, I understand that, I just, I just don't know how we resolve this, like, it's a permanent structure. We've been dealing with this, we've spent so much money already on this, we can't, like I said, we haven't even been able to enjoy this until this is over and done with. It's completely put a complete damper on me, on my family, like, this is not ill-intended. This was by no means us trying to harm anyone. It was us, one, being first-time homeowners, not understanding how things work, ignorant in that sense, and then learning and trying to fix it. When they were complaining that their areas were getting flooded, we were like, we thought innocently, well, we can just put the patio here instead of doing it attached to the house, and that will resolve that problem. And then here we are. But now we have this structure, and again, while I understand the setback rules, it's not on their property, it's not impacting them in any way, it's not causing any harm, it's not contributing to any of their flooding or not flooding. And we're trying to be as cooperative as possible and understand what can we do from here, but in my opinion, it's permanent, it's there, what do we do now? No one else, we've spoken to multiple people in the neighborhood, and they're like, this is completely unfortunate, no one else has an issue with it. Again, it's, you guys, Frank knows the property very well, we're just trying to do the right thing.
I just have two questions that are sort of unrelated to what you just said, but I walked in late. One, if you could provide the mailings, the receipts for the
Yes.
mailings, when you get a chance. I just didn't want to lose sight of that.
Absolutely.
And what was my
And then I also have, is this?
Oh, you
and we
mentioned
have
you had a
help.
letter, you mentioned you had correspondence that you wanted to share.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'll take the letters, you take the mail, love the letter. You want to pass it down? Let him. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll read this into the record as well?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So this letter is from Darius Hunter. It's dated June 30th, 2025. The address is 17 Danielle Drive, Goshen, New York. Subject, comment on 2 Jessica Court project dated 6/30/25. Dear Goshen Zoning Board, we are writing regarding the upcoming public hearing for the 2 Jessica Court project. As we are unable to attend in person, we wanted to share this pavilion on this property is beautifully done, and the home is very well maintained. We have no issues with the pavilion and fully support his presence on the property. Thank you for the opportunity to share our feedback. Best regards, Darius Hunter. Pass that back to you.
Yeah, good. Do you have, all right, wait. Frank, do you have a copy of the other letter? That came electronically, right? So you have that for the
I
file?
have it, yeah, I have it.
All right, put that one. All right, anybody else from the dais have any questions or commentary that they wish to have on the record?
Yeah, just not that it's exactly pertinent, but are they, who is people on, I see where Ferraro is in relation to you.
This is Danielle
This is Danielle,
Drive.
but who's this? This wasn't the person we got the letter from.
No, I don't believe so.
If we're looking at your patio, looking at the other, if Ferraro's property, there's a piece of land to your right.
That's the main road.
That's
No,
that-
all the way in the back.
Now, it says now or formerly Crittenden?
Oh, that's probably the neighbors that are across from us.
Yes.
But our
You
yard.
walk out the patio straight,
Yeah.
past the fire pit.
That's their backyard is,
Yeah.
they-
Were they part of the,
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yes, for sure, yes,
Yeah.
we sent.
does anybody else look into your backyard besides Mr. Ferraro and them? Danielle just lives within the 500-foot radius, I presume?
Yes,
I mean, not Danielle,
Area.
the people, yeah, probably from there.
he lives
Yeah.
directly across the street from us.
Across Jessica Court?
No.
Or across
Danielle.
Danielle.
No,
Danielle.
Danielle corner lot.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, corner lot.
Is there anybody else from the public that wants to comment on this?
I'll comment. My name is Chris Haley, I'm a resident in the town of Goshen. I do not know the applicant, except that I met them the first time they were here, about 6 weeks ago. I did have a chance one day when it wasn't raining. I got out on the bike, I was out on that end of town, I happened to drive by the property. I did not enter the properties, but looking from Jessica Court, we're not talking, from what I saw, we're not talking about a shed, I'm not talking about a solid wall, it's a gazebo, you can see straight through it. It looked to be very well built to me. I take Board Member Bergson's comments to heart to say that, you know, somebody should have caught it up to this point. That said, my understanding, we spoke at the last, when the applicant first appeared, said that there was an existing structure in place that was permitted and that this is a replacement structure. I know about zoning board codes and all that stuff, and I'm not sure I wouldn't have made that mistake because I'm not asking for something new, I'm just replacing or repairing what was there. So a little tough for me to get too sticky on that point in particular. I've spoken many times as board, I think you all know how much I hate variances, I really do. This applicant's not asking for a warehouse that's 3 times the normal size. This is a rather simple application, and it is a beautifully done project. It, I think, actually adds value to the neighborhood. I do hope that you would approve the variance quickly, as they have spent a tremendous amount of money going through the process. Thank you.
Mr. Halloran?
Sure. Neil Halloran. First of all, I have a lot of sympathy for the applicant, because I think they did do this out of ignorance, not deliberately. However, like Sam said, the architect and the person who built this should have, number one, known that there might be setbacks. Number two, they should have gotten, I think it was started without a permit and then they corrected later on, they got a permit after the fact. So that builder, whoever built it without a permit. Shame on him, and I think there's some liability there, but that's not my call. My one big concern about this application, or this variance request, is that this board, in 20 years, never gave a permit for anything other than a shed down to 10 feet. You've never given that, and you had stuff like that all the time in Ham Park. I think you're just gonna create a new precedent, unless you can come up with some rationale as to why this is not a new precedent. I think you're gonna have that issue, and you're gonna have more and more people requesting full-size buildings closer to the property line. Thank you.
All right, so,
There are no more comments from the public?
I want to say something.
Sure, state your name and town you're from.
My name is Alexander Rodriguez. I'm from here, from Goshen. I live in 247 Murray Avenue. This is my brother-in-law, so I'm familiar to the situation that's happening. When they first got the first gazebo, the aluminum one, I think we would have not been in this step here if the inspector would have called it from the beginning and would have told him, listen, this is supposed to be 30 feet from your property line. I'm guessing that's the mistake there, that why we're in this scenario as well. And also, if you guys notice, it's something wrong with the neighbor. It's not that, you know. The property looks amazing, and you know, like he said, he's been there. It brings value to the property. It's not bothering nobody. So if you guys notice, it's something with the neighbor with them, you know. So that's what I wanted to say.
Just one more comment. I always love these complaints from neighbors about the water running off the neighbor's property down to theirs. If you're living downhill, it's gonna be expected.
Exactly.
And I don't know how, Frank hasn't figured out how to fix that yet, neither have I, so I don't think we're gonna get there.
You guys haven't figured out gravity yet?
No, I'll just wait a little bit. The other side's totally correct. Topography has everything to do with it, and, you know, it was unfounded. The complaint did come in, it was unfounded, we dismissed it, we closed that complaint down.
That's just like to clean your yard.
But, you know, that's not why they're here, not the runoff.
Just to be clear, so that first structure was a 200 square foot structure?
It was, the permit from what I recollect came in with the dimensions weren't clear on the application.
Okay.
I had a little discretion there. It looked like it could fit under the 200. It was an aluminum kit. Worst case scenario, it could probably easily be removed, you know, just relocate. It's basically screwed to the patio. If we had to shift it, if the complaint came in, we could have shifted it over. So there was a little discretion there, right? So yeah, maybe it could have been a little bit over 200 square feet, but now what happened again is this other structure came in, a little larger, different construction. We had to catch up again.
Because we already had that approved, but we already had that one approved, we had a permit for that one, so we didn't understand that we needed a new permit for an existing, gazebo that we already received the permit for.
Just is a different structure material altogether.
Right now.
Not to take, not to weigh in one way or the other, just want to clarify that.
Wasn't the permit only for the slab, not for the actual components
It was
of
for the
the,
component, for the, you know, we call them accessory structures, it was for that structure.
And there were no complaints about the original?
No, once the permit was issued, there was really no complaint. I don't recollect if there really, was there a complaint to begin with? I don't.
No, and that's why I'm also surprised, because there was no complaint about that one. No different.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. If you're comfortable going to vote tonight, go to it. If not, you wanna ponder it, then that's your prerogative. I'll close.
Let's first
close
have a
the public.
motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Well, someone's gotta make it, Tom.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Yep.
Sorry.
Sam?
I'll second it.
Trino seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
So, it's, you can poll the days if you want, see if you
Do you feel
guys,
comfortable voting tonight, or do you want?
someone could put a motion to it, and then you can just make your decision whether you wanna vote or not.
Well, we're not in a rush, the construction's already done, completed and finished, so we can pass this on for another meeting.
Everybody's.
Is this
would you rather have come back instead of being able to do it now?
I mean, I don't think there's nothing new is gonna come into this, unless somebody,
See, reason
unless
to come
somebody,
back again.
Sam, you,
I don't think where I'm at is gonna change.
okay.
Okay. No, it's sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes they gotta marinate,
Yeah.
and
No.
I just wanna make sure that
So
that option's available to you
I'd
guys.
like to see us go to the five.
Then someone put a motion to put this to a vote, and if it carries, then we'll put it to a vote.
Someone,
Then we'll vote.
motion to do that?
I'll make the motion, put it to a vote.
Vote to vote.
I'll second it again.
Trino
All right.
seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, as we've done in the past, it seems to work on a good flow. We'll start with Sam, then to Bob, Trino, James, Thomas. Everybody that's at the dais right now has been here enough and has enough understanding of the project to vote, because we do have an alternate, just in the event that everybody feels comfortable,
Yeah.
that's up there, right? Okay, I'm gonna go down to the 5 questions. All right, Sam, whether an undesirable, this is, let me get an official read of the record in here. The agenda up. Okay. This is regarding the application submitted, where site plan depicts a 15 by 20 feet 3-inch pavilion, with a 10-foot side yard setback, wherein the town code calls for a requirement of 30-foot minimum. Okay? To Jessica Court. Sam, as it relates to the variance requested, you believe that there would be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties
No.
created by the granting the area variance.
Sorry, Rory.
That's okay.
No.
And I know there's been a lot of discussion and reasoning, which has been recorded here, but if you want to wrap it in a neat little bow, feel free to, but you don't have to. I just want to make sure I always say that. So, no for Sam. Bob?
No.
Trina?
No.
James?
In this one particular instance, I of course do not believe that that would be the case. However, I do feel strongly that in the event that something like this gets passed, there's no stipulation of gazebo, it would be structure. And that structure could be anything within these limits. And every home within the town of Goshen, the hundreds of homes that are in developments, will all have the ability to put the same exact size structure within the same exact distance from the property lines, and that would unfortunately make it a detriment to the neighborhoods. This particular one instance does not, however. Having this available for all residents, I believe would. I don't know if I can answer it that way, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave that on record.
So I would interpret that as a yes because of the potential precedent that you'd be setting. I just wanna.
That would make it
if
a
you have
lot
to box
easier
you
to
into-
explain, yes,
Okay.
and it hurts to bother to have to say that, but it's my feelings, unfortunately.
Tom?
I think I'm feeling similarly to James, in that, 10 foot is a lot closer than 30 foot, and pavilion is potentially a gathering spot for neighbors, you know, noise, that kind of stuff, and maybe not in this instance necessarily, but the reason that 30-foot setback exists is to give buffers between neighbors and keep good neighborly relations and such, so.
Okay. Thank you. Sam, I'm back down to you. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance.
No. The structure is already built, so, no.
Bob?
I'm gonna say no also.
Trina?
Three in a row, no.
James?
No.
Tom?
No.
Whether the requested area variance is substantial. Sam?
Yes, it's substantial.
Yes, very substantial.
Trina?
Yes, if I may say though, I have both Mr. Halloran's and Mr. Healy's concerns both of setting a precedent, as James pointed out. And I don't know if there's a legal way to get into this, but apparently what happened, was they had a guy from 518 area codes, and he probably just wanted to do the work, he doesn't care about looking up the codes as he should. And it seems that they had a previous structure of some sort there. And when he came in, he might be ignorant, even though it's not, although he didn't do what his job is, to think, oh, as I came from New York myself, you know, who knew about codes when I first moved up here? That they looked at it and they said, oh, we had this, we're just gonna make it a little bit bigger, and let it continue. That's not right, that's not the right way of doing things. But
So I'm just gonna address just
Yeah,
on
go
a
ahead.
general and precedent, all right? Because it is a
It
word,
is
it's the
busy.
biggest word in here, and I understand it. We're not a legislative
Yes,
body,
it's-
right? We're not
it's-
trying to change the code. We're
Right.
trying to address issues that are anomalies in the code, maybe because of the property design or the situation. So, to take this, I don't know, there's no direct threshold of when something becomes so directly on point. If someone comes in and has the same facts, and you guys approve it, yeah, you'd be boxed in. But are they gonna have the scenario where they had something before and then they had a professional? I mean, there's a lot. James's points are well put in about precedent, and then you gotta look at the anomalies around this. And if there's 100 of these that pop up, that's pretty strange, and we gotta get some new engineers around the area, but, you know, I just wanna address it. I'm not saying one way or another whether you're creating a precedent. I had my concerns in previous matters about that, so that's for you guys to determine. And then there's remedies available to the citizens if the citizens disagree with the ZBA, or the applicant disagrees with your decision. There's additional remedies through the law. So, I understand the concerns. They are a factor in your yes or no. There are caveats and conditions, and then, so.
I just want to put that on the
But
record.
specific to the,
yes,
specific
it is
to the
extreme
substantial
variance.
nature.
It is a substantial variance.
Yeah, it's, okay. And yours was directed at the neighborhood and the change in the neighborhoods if these pop up a bunch singularly, just trying to encapsulate your reasoning and the statement. Yours is, it's substantial, and then you went into precedent, but the precedent's more tied to, is it tied to kind of James's reasoning, or is it tied to?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I'm putting it, because yeah, alright, I'm gonna move on. We got Tom, did we get you on? We didn't get James's,
Yeah,
sorry.
James doesn't answer.
Yes, and due to the fact that it is 1/3 of the distance required by zone law.
Tom?
Yes, I agree with substantial.
Okay. Sam, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district?
No, from the evidence presented, I have no reason to think it would.
Bob?
No.
Trino?
No, sir.
James?
Yes, due to the reasons I've given, correct.
this is addressing the physical environmental conditions. I'm not suggesting you didn't understand that. I just want to make sure that I'm clear that the same argument.
Physical environment being site of items, it's the same situation.
I'm just trying to extract more out of you. Not that you're being pithy.
I can articulate,
But I gotta write the decision, so I'm trying to make sure I got the reasoning that that I understand it, so I can make sure that someone just blindly reading it would pick up what you're putting down. So they apply both to physical, the aesthetics, and the potential environmental. If this.
You're correct. There is not an environmental impact by this.
I wasn't trying to change.
No, but I can be.
They can
I
get
can
linked.
be specific on this one.
Okay, thank you.
Without it having to fall into the public.
Thank you. Tom?
No, and that's based on, there was a previously permanent structure in that specific location.
All right, Sam, whether alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the ZBA, but shall not necessarily be dispositive of granting or not granting.
It was self-created. I understand that the applicants come here and they advised us that they were not aware of the regulations when they built the initial structure, when they built the subsequent structure that is now the subject of this hearing. But that being said, you need to still comply with those regulations, whether or not you know they exist or not. The applicant, any homeowner in the town does. And so I do believe it was self-created.
Bob?
Self-created.
Trino?
Almost all are.
Fair point. James?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, so we've gone through the factors, keeping those all in mind and weighing the totality of the circumstances. I'm gonna go down the same order, and I'm gonna ask you for a yes or no. In the event that you say yes, please advise of any conditions that you wish to see outside of the normal conditions of adhering to town, county, state codes, conditions laid out by the planning board if they were in front of a planning board for later on, and anything related to the building permit. So I'll start with you, Sam. Where are you on granting the variance?
I'm sorry, I cannot. I'm gonna deny the area variance because 10 feet from a property line is very close when the setback is 30 feet. The zoning code exists for a reason, and in this situation, I don't see enough in order to grant the area variance. I add to that the procedural issue here that we are here after the fact that the construction was built. It makes it so that you've had to engage in the process, and it puts you in a very difficult situation. And so I'm aware of that, but I do think the code is important enough that it needs to be maintained unless situations are proved to be enough to grant an area variance. I'm sorry, in this situation, I don't think that level that has been met. I'm sorry.
Bob?
Despite us having.
I'm sorry, I did not, I was looking that way.
Okay, am I
So-
allowed to ask a question? No.
No, not at this moment. I'm not trying to be rude, just
No,
procedure.
So, I've been on the board for like 32 years, and every applicant is different. And I've been weighing my decisions over these years on every applicant and the condition that they present us. I'm going to grant yes.
Trino?
I'm gonna grant, yes, I wish I could come up with a condition though. Make it unique, but yes, I'll say yes.
All the details that were laid out, which is part of the reason I was extracting, trying to
Right.
pull it and let you guys go, is that's where you protect your precedent.
Yes.
It's specifying what makes this unique.
It's like putting wishes up, I don't know what you could do.
James?
As a homeowner in Goshen, as you are, Every time I come up with a decision on these things, I think about, if this happened in my backyard, how would I feel? Regardless of the didn't know, or regardless of I did it before I knew. I will tell you, I almost put a fire pit in my yard, and in the village, I found out before I did it, luckily, because open fires of any kind in the village are against code. And, you know, these are responsibilities as homeowners to make sure we are following the suit following the protocols before we do things. I wish just not knowing was possible to get things passed. I really do, because I feel for you. But what would stop every single person coming in saying, I didn't know, and I can't give a yes because of that. Unfortunately, I have to say no.
Tom?
Yeah, I know.
That's why you're the chair.
Right, this is a difficult question, because people have invested a lot of time and money in this. It's essentially putting the same footprint of the previously permitted structure. It's in a it substantially, I think, violates the code. Even the original one, I mean, I think it, even though it's a temporary structure, kind of violates the spirit of that code. So I have to say no, because it just, I think we've seen an increasing number of people coming in and trying to fix things after the fact. It pains me to say that, but I think I have to.
Okay, by my count, that's a 3-2 denying the variance requested. A written decision will be available within the next 30 days. It will be reviewed by the board, make sure it encapsulates their reasoning behind the decision. It'll be made available to you all. You'll get some correspondence from the building department when it becomes available. I'm sorry that you're
What
unsuccessful.
happens now with this permanent structure in our home that we've invested so much time and money in? Am I being asked to demolish the entire?
I'm gonna let the building department handle that, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to ask you to wait either till the end of the meeting to talk to Frank, so we can proceed on the next public hearing, or get the answer tomorrow. I'm not in a position to answer that. I have my beliefs of what goes on next, and I think everybody here is not gonna do much for you right now, but I think everybody is certainly sympathetic to what you guys.
Counselor, could I say something? Looking at these photos, these feet that you have are studded into the cement, correct? That's how you have this here. Your structure is stuck. You have a threaded stud coming out through the cement. Your structure is bolted into that. That cannot be lifted and moved to this side and bring the fire pit on the other side. Why not?
Because it's sitting on a footing. It's on footings.
So what's the pavers? There's no.
There are pavers, but because we knew that when we did the original permit, one of the requirements was that I had to provide, if it withstood the snow capacity and the wind capacity in the town of Goshen. So in order to withstand the wind capacity, it had to be set on footings. If the wind is strong enough, it can lift up a paver and take the whole thing.
So why
with
can't
it.
you just pull the pavers out?
It
Concrete,
just-
footing, cement, stud, place the new column.
It wouldn't work.
This is a
Respectfully,
Yeah,
we're.
I'm not an engineer, but
yeah.
I'm just looking at, to help you out.
From a standpoint of what the next steps would be the building department. I have some thoughts for you as well, but I would rather discuss them after the meeting. I can't do anything for you right now. I gotta proceed on the next public hearing. If you guys don't choose to stick around, please be in touch with Frank and be in touch with me, okay?
Yeah, we need to, I basically, what I would say is, I appreciate your time. I know we're running out of time.
No, I just don't want, I don't know what
appreciate
you're
your
gonna
time,
say, so
but
I'm
I
trying to keep
really,
it.
this is, the decision, I believe it was based on one individual, where there is no hazard, there is no.
This is not gonna assist you.
It really wasn't
No,
based on, it wasn't based on that, it's
But,
based
listen,
on the code and what.
The coding, I
But we
understand.
need to, we need to move to the next public hearing, I'm sorry. I'm sympathetic to your plight, I really am, I'm sorry. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Gotham Properties, formerly known as Aurora Innovations, 24-1-108.2 and 112 and 113. This application consists of 4 parcels being reconfigured into 3, therefore requiring a 288A variance and front yard variance. This application consists of 117.35 plus or minus acres on Pulaski Highway, County Road Route 6, in the agricultural industrial AI district, AQ 6 and floodplain and ponding overlays.
I'm gonna ask that we hold this until Frank comes back in. So there's not a necessity to repeat, or he might be able to chime in on stuff.
Right.
So, I understand the necessity to go out there now, but this we've got a solid procedure here. I'm not trying to say it to you,
Understood.
thanks, Neil. Appreciate it.
I thought that too, but I just.
Oh, yeah.
No, we did it. No, that's true.
They thought more.
Okay.
Okay, it's on track.
Yeah. That, we'll wait for after the meeting.
Oh, okay, okay.
Would you guys like me to put the sound, the
No,
sound video?
no, it's fine.
You should have gotten colored maps.
Hey.
Last time.
No, sure, that's it.
I know I sent them in.
Can't wait for all
I'm so sorry. I thought I was bringing up this.
We have gotten colored things before. Yes, I don't know why.
But I just saw this. Was happy with the explanation last time they were here. Were you here?
Okay, so do we have a motion to open the public hearing for Gotham Properties?
Motion to open the public hearing for Gotham Properties?
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So,
That's a good point. Did we actually close that?
Did we that's what I was wondering, did we close?
the other one?
Yeah, we
did.
closed
did.
it and then, well,
Oh.
5 questions.
Oh, that's, yes, yes.
I think the delay
We closed it,
between
just-
we closed it before
Well,
the,
I can't go back and remember if we did, I know we
We did.
okay.
yeah, I think you're right, we closed before we went through the 5 points, you're absolutely right, that's what
I
happened.
know we voted to
Started
vote.
it and Trina seconded.
That's right, you were on, it was your back-to-back seconds,
I
Trina.
got a string of seconds going on.
You're on a roll tonight.
Okay, so.
Second stringer.
Oh.
Maybe we'll start with you, just a quick recap of the project for everybody. Put your name and all that into the record as well.
Yes, good evening. I'm Vince Peterzak here tonight for Gotham Properties, consisting of 4 tax lots, which are being reconfigured for the property to be better designed, creating 3 tax lots. The existing Aurora facilities utilizes Sleepy Hollow Road, which is a private road that runs from Pulaski Highway out to Spanktown Road, which is in the Blackwood Fields in the rear. The largest lot will be, after it's reconfigured, will be to the rear of the property, which has the old airplane hangar, which is one of the variances that are required, as well as the cell tower on the property.
And the 280, the 280A is.
That's right, 280A is for the piece of property in the front along Pulaski Highway. That'll be going to the adjacent property from 112, the Aurora facility.
That's road frontage, right?
Correct, that's their existing road frontage on Pulaski Highway, which is not needed because their access is on Sleepy Hollow Road back to their packing facility.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the variance related to the hangar and the cell tower?
That was for the setback to the property.
With the new configuration?
That's a pre-existing.
But where the new property line will be?
That is to the existing exterior property line.
Okay, so we need to have a new variance for that because it's the rest of the property is reconfigured, is that?
If you're asking me, this is coming to you through the planning board, I'm not really up to speed on exactly what,
Okay.
That's a variance, excuse me, that actually should have been gotten when they got the other variances for the cell tower. It was overlooked.
All right.
Can you show us what you, so this is what,
The bottom one is what is, and the top one is what will be.
No.
No?
Backwards. These are the 4 lots, and these are the 3 lots after it gets reconfigured.
And the blue through the center of it is water?
That is the Sleepy
That's the road,
Hollow
that's the
Road
That's the road, right?
that runs all the way back to
And
Black Dirt.
that strip that blue, that used to be the hangar, that used to be the runway?
Yes,
The air-
correct.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
So this is what it's gonna look like when it's all done?
Correct.
So, in essence, thank you.
I'm not seeing the 4 lots in the first image.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, the blue is its own lot.
Correct.
Oh, I got you.
this makes sense.
It all becomes one.
Basically, it's just something.
Man, that was a funky lot. Whoever put that together.
And we're okay with the 2 lots being divided by another lot?
If I may, like, if you do look at the property map, or the survey map, that's like the black dirt. It seems like that makes sense, because that's all just the same type of property.
Yeah, it's not buildable. You wouldn't be able to build on this Black Dirt area.
No, I get that, it just
So-
seems odd to have one lot divided by, it's not like it's a right of way, it's actually a different
Yeah.
piece of property in between.
Correct.
Is that not,
It
seems
is
to
a
me like
private-
it would be 4 lots.
It is a private road, and when we discussed it with the planning board, we're going to be adding a note that there will be no further subdivision of that lot. So it would always be connected to that Black Dirt area.
Is that something you see typically, Frank, or?
Tom, Mr. Chairman, if you would just, maybe if you need more information, this is the time to ask the applicant for it. I can't weigh in on that.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're gonna, in getting approval from the planning board, there will be a condition that the 2 orange properties, for lack of a better word,
Yep.
are not gonna themselves be separated into 2 separate lots in the future.
Correct. They
Okay.
will not be, it'll not be a natural subdivision to create 2 tax lots in the future, because the one would be non.
They would have to come back and get a full board approval in the future, whatever, if they wanted, if anyone wanted to do
For some
that.
way they could possibly even make it buildable, they would have to.
Right.
But this is all black dirt except for this area right here where the old runway used to be. This is all black dirt in this area?
The Black Dirt is the shaded area.
Yeah.
This is
Yes.
all black dirt, and this is another lot.
Okay, but this is hard ground.
That's all upland, correct?
And this is upland also?
Yes.
So anything, and really, any black dirt is really not developable, because it's,
Right,
it's soft, it's deep, and it's, needs pilings or whatever to build.
Yeah, for some reason, the dirt facility was on the largest piece of property using the least amount of.
Right. Right.
Susan, you all have questions? Okay. So, is there anybody else from the public that would like to, no, we have to open it. You're open the public hearing.
What happened?
No, I was just asking if there's anybody else from the public that'd like to comment on this.
I'm gonna comment as the attorney on some of my thoughts about what may bring some clarity if you guys are not clear or want additional clarity. You know,
Sure.
Sorry?
Sure.
In the past, like we've gone and take a site visit, right? If that's just to get a conceptual idea there. In this case, I think we need to go back and review the times they've been in front of the planning board, understand the planning board's reasoning for some of the kicking it down to here, because they oftentimes can make their own discretionary choices, but they'll say, go down and explore a variance. I would like to hear from our town engineer as well, and I'm not trying to kick this down the road. It's I look at it as some additional information that not that I wasn't expecting it, but if you guys are comfortable, that's all your choice. Just a suggestion would be potentially to review how it got here, and if you have any questions. But if I'm seeing something that you're not seeing, then just move on. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, because I'm getting looks like it doesn't. But
No, not necessarily.
It makes sense.
okay, well then I was just gonna look like, all right, yeah, maybe you guys said it when I wandered over, and that's where I came up with the idea. I don't know, what I miss?
No, you didn't miss anything.
Okay, all right.
So, I mean, we've got 288.
Yeah, which generally is the hang up on variances when they've come before us, but that seems to be a little more of a bit player in this than more is the chopping up of it.
Yeah.
And the front yard variance and so. But if you conceptually are good with it, then you can, I wouldn't, if you're gonna.
Counsel, do you think there's something we're missing?
No, I don't necessarily, no, I don't know.
I'm not
You
being
guys
facetious,
don't.
I'm just-
It was a suggestion, it does not have to be followed, but if you do follow it, I wouldn't close the public hearing out, because that would be information coming in. But I don't wanna slow the project down. If you guys have enough information to move forward, then.
I'm not sure what the question is here, for the.
Well, it seemed to be a lot of confusion at the dais, that's why
If I could clarify for the 280A, the facility's using Sleepy Hollow Road, which is a private road. They're never going to build a road on their property back on the Pulaski Highway when they've got a perfectly good private road that they've got rights to. They would never do it.
And what other type of structures are on these things? Because the 288 have to do with the road, and we have problems with road. Do emergency vehicles have to go there?
Well, the 288 is the road frontage on Pulaski Highway, right?
Right.
Correct.
So if they've got access off of another
The
road,
road, then they don't need it.
they don't
Pulaski
necessarily
Highway.
need it.
Okay.
As I understand it, is that, or is that?
I
what you think needs to go
I just
to
was
the-
talking with Valerie, when I went out to talk with Frank and then talk with Neil, I might have missed you guys catching up to speed on the stuff that I was concerned at, making sure you understood.
Okay.
Because it looked, I don't wanna screw, like, I'm not trying to muddy the waters.
No,
I got the impression that there was confusion over the information being presented, not because you weren't doing a superb job or your color-coded map. I just sat with this group long enough, so I wanna make sure there's enough ability to make the decision, that's all.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's why I just wanted to kind of.
If you guys are good, then it's your ball.
And Sleepy Hollow Road is a gravel road that they tip and track the trailers back and forth on.
Just to comment, I think usually if we see a subdivision, it's going the other way, where they're going from less to more. So when I see it going from more to less, I instinctively go, that sounds not like it's okay to me, and then just seeing the layout and the proportions of the new lots, they make sense in consideration to like the to the topography and the use and the actual land itself. Just a comment that I'm okay with the presentation from the applicant.
Thank you. I might have been literally the time I walked out. and
No,
you
your
guys were still
concerns,
talking.
are well taken.
Anybody else have questions? Is there anybody, comments from the public regarding?
Chris or Neil? Any commentary that you wish to add?
I have no comment.
Okay.
So, we have two variances that we need to consider, right?
Yep.
So, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do you want to take us through the?
Yeah,
we've got
I just-
five
Absolutely.
questions for each, okay?
Yep. You wanna get a motion to,
Sorry.
send this to a vote?
Yeah, can we get a motion to take a vote on this project?
I'll make a motion to take a vote on the Gotham properties
Trino?
variance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So, I gotta, even though they seem to be so intertwined, I gotta do two sets of questions. Just two
Yep.
variances. Okay. Sam, you know the drill, right? So we're gonna start with the, let me do the 280. Let's start with the 280A variance. All right. Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance.
No, I don't think it will.
No.
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 Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance.
I suppose they can leave the lots the way they are. Should, no, they can't, because then that wouldn't get them the outcome they desire, so, no.
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 Whether the requested area variance is substantial.
No, I don't think it is.
No.
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 Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district.
No, it will not.
Will not, no.
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 And whether that difficulty was self-created, again, it's not just positive one way or another.
The only one talking into the mic over here.
Yeah.
No.
No. My bad.
No.
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 So the, what is the exact, the agenda, this has the exact request as to the delineation on the second variance request.
No, it doesn't, not on the agenda.
If your application delineate out what the, it says, I see the lot line change, and I see the, application. Okay.
What are you doing? We're trying to figure out the language.
I'm just trying to, yeah, I wanna, yes.
280A?
The exact, like, variance being requested after the 280A, the front yard, I believe it's front yard setback, I'm trying to get the delineation of, is that, your second variance request?
Yeah, it's, required 50 foot and we have 21 foot.
Roy, do we need to take a final vote on that first?
Yes, I'm sorry, I got looking for this.
Yeah.
You can, why don't you put that to a motion while I continue to
Well-
look, please?
I vote on the 5 factors. I didn't vote
We didn't vote on the final of the 288.
on the final 288.
Right, so that's what we're voting on now.
Right.
So you need,
Okay.
you
So I
need-
vote to
I'm
grant.
gonna ask you the, I'll ask, I'm sorry, I said you need a motion, I'm gonna put this down like that.
All right.
All right, as it relates to the ultimate question of whether 280A variance is acceptable, granted, where do you stand?
Yes, I vote to grant the 288 variance.
Any conditions outside of the traditional conditions of following local and state laws, as well as any planning board conditions?
None, no.
Okay, Bob?
No.
Trina?
No.
You vote?
Well, yes,
Voting yes.
yes.
Voting to grant.
Voting to grant.
They gotta rewrite these questions. I gotta ask them differently.
To grant.
Okay,
Yes to grant.
thank you, Trina.
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, now, the variance
So,
request.
can I read into that though also? It's only because they have that private road that they have access to.
Yes, okay. That was reasoned out in your, it would have been in,
Just
but
want to
thank
make sure
you.
it's clear.
Oh, great. Yes, I'm just trying to get the exact section of, thank you. But where is the, I know it goes to the chart, but let's see, like usually in our. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, on the map it says less than 50, right?
Yeah, okay, but it's at 50, it generally requires a 50-foot setback, and they have a 21-foot.
That's what
It's
the
21.
engineer is applicant stated.
Okay. Okay, so I'll add it in after the fact, assuming that that's. Okay, so the second variance being requested is a variance to the front yard setback requirement of the town code that requires 50 feet setback, and the applicant has 21 feet. All right?
Can I ask a quick question? Are you
Yep.
sure it's 21 feet? Because if
Yes.
it's 20 feet, I don't want, if you have it,
It's
to
gonna
be back here, because
No,
you're
the
1 foot short.
representations of the applicant are what they are, and if they turn out to be different, then we have an issue.
So
Yeah,
we're looking,
that's
we're
on-
looking at
that's
9
on the
feet.
applicant.
We're looking at 9 feet. So we're looking at 9 feet?
No, it's
Yeah.
50 down to
21.
21.
Oh,
50 is the requirement, 21 is what,
So it's 29 feet.
But this tower was pre-approved, but this variance was not included in that.
that's what the applicant is representing, and that was where my leaving the room to think with Frank about maybe, not, again, it's gonna be conditioned upon that representation being true, so, if you do grant it.
Got it.
All right, same with the representation of the 21 feet. Vince, would you be kind enough to read to me which map you're going off of,
Yes.
so I can incorporate that in as well?
Gotham Properties, lot line adjustment plan,
Okay, and there's a date?
5/2/25.
Okay, so we're going off, that's the latest iteration you have, correct?
Yes.
All right. Okay. With that all being in the record now, I will incorporate the exact, all the way down to the last subsection that this applies to in the code, in the decision, regardless of how it plays out, okay? But if you understand what the variance request is, everybody gets that, okay? And that the applicant has represented that it was supposed to be incorporated in the past and was not. When you said that, you mean that you were supposed to be before the ZBA way back when, or that this predates the necessity for the variance itself? I missed that part.
The building was there when the proposal came in for variances previously, but that variance was overlooked.
Okay, so it's a traditional, it's as if it's a traditional variance request. The code hasn't changed That just didn't get done in the past one, but it's
Yeah.
it's a fresh variance request, meaning.
Yes.
Okay.
I look at it as a pre-existing non-conforming.
I would expect it
It
to.
doesn't require a variance, but that's just me.
No, I would as well if I was an applicant.
How old would you estimate that building to be?
Oh, jeez. Whenever they were flying, spraying onions, probably like the 70s or a little later, maybe even.
Right. Why are you even asking for the, why aren't you considering it a,
Because the planning board wants us to get the variance.
they instructed?
Yes.
Which is, again, I don't have their reasoning in front of me, but it's sort of, I think it might be irrelevant, but it may not be. I mean, sometimes we're, go get the variance, they don't get the variance, then here's your other alternative options. I mean, that's how the site plan process happens a lot.
And we're looking at like this armpit of the map?
Correct, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
So, if the board is comfortable voting on variance request number 2, I would suggest putting a motion forward.
Can I ask one thing, Rick? Why, have they thought about knocking it down?
No, it's a steel frame structure.
So that's just like,
It's a nice building.
yeah,
So
okay.
I wanted to
Right,
use
right.
it for something.
Got it. Say no more, I got, that makes sense.
You guys comfortable moving ahead?
Well, just for you.
No, talking about this guy here. The airplane hangar?
Yes.
Yeah, so even if all this
How old
went
is the airplane
away.
hangar? 100 years old?
They've been there since the 70s.
That's 1903.
And even if all this went away, in theory, because it was never gotten, you would be here for that variance possibly anyway.
Right.
So, yeah, I got it. I don't think I have anything else I need.
So do we have a motion to, put
Yeah,
the
yeah.
factor test and take a vote?
I'll make a motion to put it to the factor test.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Seconds, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, starting down. You wanna start it off? Mix it up? No, I
mean, you can go crazy. I don't see how-
I didn't wanna change it.
You just learned a little bit about me, guys, all right? It's all right.
That
Sam.
creates an undesirable change.
Yeah, most of the things are self-created. Sam, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby property will be created by the granting of the area variance.
No, as the applicant has stated, this structure has been there since the 70s, so it couldn't possibly change the nature of the property, of the neighborhood.
Okay. Bob?
No.
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 Nope.
Will the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance?
No, not feasibly.
No.
Nope.
No.
No.
Whether the requested area variance is substantial?
30, it is 21 feet.
29.
29 feet is, when there's a 50-foot setback, is substantial.
Substantial. Yes. Very substantial.
Yes.
And yes.
Okay, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district?
It will not.
No.
Will not.
It will not have any effect.
It will not.
Okay. Whether the alleged difficulty or self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the ZBA, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of requested variance.
No, I'd say no. It was not self-created. The tower's been there for 50+ years.
No.
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 All right, as it relates to the area variance requested, Sam? Are you a yes to granting or a no?
I'm a yes to granting the area variance.
Bob?
Yes, granting.
Yes, to granting?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to read one thing into the record here. Frank was kind enough to get me code. So it's 9713, subsection F, capitalized, sub 1, and sub lowercase c, which essentially is what you guys just discussed, which is the, unless otherwise provided, all non-residential uses and buildings in the AI district shall meet the following bulk regulations. 1, bulk regulations for non-residential uses and buildings, subsection C is a minimum front setback 50 feet. So that is now incorporated into the record. Congratulations, that's
Great,
so
thank you
there's
very
a couple
much.
weeks, and we'll get a decision to the board for review, and then we'll get down the agenda for the signing of it. If you come for that, great. If not, it'll just be given to you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a great evening.
Yep, take care.
So the items for discussion and action with 2 Gumwood properties, that's, their attorneys asked us to hold off on?
There is, no,
Or, I'm
just
sorry.
it was a miscommunication from my end that it wasn't supposed to be on the agenda. I didn't indicate that in enough time for it to get pulled up. The council knew. Council and I were communicating, but I did not get word to the building department in time, and pulling it off seemed to, sometimes that just was worse. So it's just leave it on and address it in public.
Okay, perfect.
All right, but I believe there were, I don't know if you still wanted to speak.
Yeah, I just don't know how to kind of.
Well, you have an opportunity, this is the opportunity to
Yeah.
address it, is when you're, all in a setting and
Sure, okay.
open meeting,
Okay.
so.
I unfortunately was not able to make the last meeting. It was a meeting that I really tried everything I could to be here, because I felt like it was very important to be here. Everybody on dais saw the photos that were taken by me and shared prior to that vote, is that correct? So I was just kind of curious of maybe some opinions as to how or considering the information that I shared, how the vote went to a yes. And the reason I say that is, knowing that there's going to be additional lift of additional dirt, whatever the case is, in order to get this home that's gonna eventually be built to the level of which everybody was okay with. Considering that, again, I don't know how specific I was on that email, but that was, I believe, 3 or 4 days after a pretty typical rainfall, and well before we had storm after storm after storm. So it wasn't a real rarity in terms of how much rain we typically get. And considering that there was standing water on the property line, the next, my worry is that, when somebody buys that home, and my reasoning for taking those photos were, somebody's gonna buy that home and not realize that every time it rains, their entire property is going to be filled with water.
Well, I think, I didn't vote in support of that, but I think the reasoning was a little bit different in that the raising of that property to put that building on it was not what was in question. It was merely the road access.
There was a condition placed, I think, I'll take Trino's words, as I've drafted the decision, I know what I wrote in it, which is essentially that it still requires, or in the opinion of the zoning board, that the planning board would have the ability to restrain the situation. They would be looking at the flood patterns and the things of that nature that would either make it, so Gumwood came to the ZBA with really they're not at the planning board stage. Now they could go, because it would be cost prohibitive. They couldn't do the project, literally. It's not even like it wouldn't be as good. They couldn't do it, right? So they came first here, and they still have to get through, they still have to get site plan approval. I mean, it's not a guarantee. I think is that a fair representation of your reasoning on?
Yes, plus the fact is what they're asking for is, see how that whole road has got a problem for being in the floodplain.
I meant particularly what James was talking about with
analyzing
You
it.
said that the planning board will.
Because they weren't originally in the floodplain.
Yeah.
That floodplain was created after those homes were built.
Yeah, well, after all those properties were.
Right. So that's
After
why.
the
that's what-
subdivision was divided and built out.
Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to just voice my, again, I wish not that me being here would have changed the outcome, I was just making sure that everybody understood where my feelings were about it, and that's pretty much it.
I didn't see any evidence that the road itself is gonna be inundated with more water from the development of these two homes. So if they build up these two homes, I wasn't of the opinion that the creation of these two homes, with the caveats from the planning board, would exacerbate the water issue, and so if people wanna come in and choose to buy those lots and build on those lots, if they get the planning board approval, which was a big factor in my granting that with the variance to build on the road with the floodplain, it's really, cause I don't think those structures that, like with an engineer who comes in, who's gonna be aware of the runoff from the creation of those structures, is gonna exacerbate it's crazy, the water system, it's crazy. The town bought the 5 or 6 homes that were like on the adjacent side of the road, and for my opinion, the reason they did that is because they know if someone, knowing that the water situation in the road, the town would be worried that if someone bought those homes, they'd be able to get developed on, and so the town missed 2 lots. And I feel like, as a board, I'd be worried about restraining development in that case, because I didn't see evidence that the road itself would get worse, and it's terrible as is. But that's where I was close, but that's where I was.
We'll have to split, I think this is a good conversation, because we don't get a chance to do that very often.
Yeah, that's
But my
fair.
understanding is that what they were asking for is they wanna build those houses, even though that road in front of those houses is in the floodplain. Because the road, we were basing it on.
I mean, the whole road's in the
Not whether
floodplain.
that house is gonna screw everybody else up, and hopefully the planning board or somebody else will stop it if that's the case. But my understanding, we were passing on whether we'll let them build those houses on a road that's in the floodplain, even though the other houses are, and also show those pictures of.
To be
water's running
precise.
down the road.
Sorry, Trino.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's in a floodplain district, but it's in a floodplain, it's in the buffer zone, just barely.
Yeah.
Like
The homes
the
were-
homes, but proposed,
Right, but the
And they would
road
have
was
to-
in the floodplain. It's below, yeah.
Well, none of it was when it was.
Not when they
yeah.
were, not when they were created.
And
Okay.
the homes that exist predate they beat the clock.
Yes.
It's just these 3 lots, well, 2, but 3, if you want to get.
right, and there was a point made that last lot would not be built on, and it would buffer any future development down later on, but, and that played a factor in.
Yeah, I mean, they
choosing.
didn't apply for a variance, so they would have to come back with having made a record of that already, that they would do it, and they didn't apply for it, so
Yeah.
And it still may not be approved.
I think that's some of the reasoning.
Yeah.
When you come to the ZBA first, and you don't have the rest of the plan out there, I mean, it might be, who knows?
We were not the final say on this.
Thank you for having the conversation, appreciate it.
Yeah.
They brought up.
Do we have to take, chairperson, do we have to take a public on this other conversation?
That public hearing is closed.
So, real quick. Anyway,
It's not gonna acknowledge.
Empire,
So, July 15th is 2 Fairway Empire Solar.
that's one
Yeah.
applicant. Okay, July 15th, and then come with decisions.
So what was the first part?
It's the solar project, the residential solar.
Yeah.
Are there representatives of the homeowner coming to the meeting?
Too fair.
I would say that, I
Represented in some form or fashion.
don't know.
Can we,
I know
at this
Christie
point,
was rooting for
Are we
it,
able to mandate such?
No, you factor it in how you see fit, I mean.
15th is what?
Too fair.
That's the next meeting, and
What's
Two
the-
Fairway, the solar project.
Oh, the
residential.
high electricity,
That's gonna be on the next meeting.
Okay, all right.
And then the Gunwood decisions for review.
Okay, got it.
And then if anything pops up in the next week or two.
Do I make a motion to close the meeting?
Yes, so.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting?